Welcome to the Heart of England Speakers podcast. My name is Pierre and I'm your host. Please join us live every first and third Tuesday of the month. For all details, please go to heartspeakers.org.uk. So if you're familiar with Toastmaster, you know that in different paths, that's how you get your certification in public speaking. So in one of the speeches I had to do for my presentation mastery, I had to moderate a panel, and that's something I did back in a while back already, let's just say. And the panel I moderated discussion around was artificial intelligence. So I had a doctor with Caroline and a TV producer, Rich, and myself with vehicle manufacturing. We all sat down in front of our club and discussed the pros, the cons, the things that are scary about artificial intelligence, and it was a very, very interesting discussion. It lasted about 20 minutes, and something we agreed upon was, man, we should really have a discussion like this more often and put this on the podcast. So we did. So at long last, we got all three of us back together, back on the podcast, and this is going to be a panel about artificial intelligence. It was a very interesting discussion. A lot of things had happened during the year, and we tried to cover everything in medicine, entertainment, and industry. So here's our panel, Caroline, Rich, and myself about artificial intelligence. Hope you enjoy it. Well, I'll say hello to my panel, Caroline and Rich. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
How are we?
After such a long time, we did make it, finally.
It's weird being back on Zoom, actually.
Yes, that too. Yes, on Zoom, ironically.
Yeah.
So, Caroline, I'm going to start with you right away because when we were live, there's something that caught my eye because I said, are you all in for AI? And you said enthusiastically yes. But I had a little, what I wanted to say was, is it a yes because A, you need AI in modern medicine, or is it a yes because the NHS is so short-staffed that you need artificial intelligence?
I think we need it for both reasons, to be honest. And we already use it a fair bit. I've experienced it in the dermatology field. They're using it for mole mapping and examining moles and lesions, and it's been very useful for that. And so we do need it. I think it will help us in many ways reduce physician error and help us to be more efficient, I think, in certain things. Very good, I think, for visual things where you're visualizing, dermatology, for example, or x-rays and things like that. I think that it's already in use and it will reduce user error. I think that I think that we have got a GP, a medical profession crisis. There's no doubt about it, and we need help with that as well. And I think it will help there. So I think there's a number of reasons that I think we need to use it in medicine. And I'm quite enthusiastic. And I think all doctors, the way forward now, people are going to have to use it. And I think everybody's going to have some enthusiasm for artificial intelligence if we're going to get by in the world of modern medicine. I mean, even I think you may know that even prostate examinations are done by robots now. Many of them by robots. It's
no more human touch.
Well, there is human touch, but we'll probably touch on that a bit later, I think.
Rich, you're in entertainment. You're in the entertainment field, and since the last time we talked, there has been a huge strike in the US about AI. Actually, I was wondering what your take was on that.
Yeah, with there've been writer strikes, of course, but there's also been actor strikes. And for two very different reasons, but both regarding AI. And the first one, writers, you could probably work it out yourself, that they're worried about being replaced by AI. I mean, anybody can press a button now and get a script written. as we'll touch on, no doubt, a lot in this conversation, it's the human touch that is missing from a lot of these scripts. It's human experience, human history, human creativity that isn't quite there with AI at the moment. And just discerning between characters and that type of thing, just not there yet. However, the acting one is really interesting, because an actor can do a scene 10 years ago and it can be used with AI in 10 years' time, and they don't necessarily have to be paid. You can create a very, very close-looking caricature of an actor as well, put them in a film. Do you need to pay them? Well, that's what it was all about. So yes, there's a lot of debate at the moment. Actors have won, and they've got various restrictions in there, and they've got money. Same with writers, but this is only the start of it. There's a lot more to come.
Yeah. So the state of play in my field, automotive design, it's you know, you don't really need to, you know, there's people, the core of what we do is sketching. You just start drawing and, you know, it all looks great, and then you make pretty colors, go to 3D. Now you can just have a really bad sketch and it doesn't even matter anymore. And you can really get a nice image and give it to the machine, and it will turn it into a beautiful rendering. And I think that's part of the scary thing is people won't know how to draw anymore. And the scary thing is, well, yeah, where's the art? You lose the art. Back to you, Caroline. How do you see, obviously you need brain power to, you know, it's nice to have the AI reading a bunch of moles and tell you which one is cancerous, but how do you see it? Do you fear some loss of, as Rich says, the human touch in that way? Or does it matter?
I think that everybody's worried about that, but certainly in general practice, I mean, when I was at medical school, they always just thought, the doctor is the drug. You know, coming to see the doctor can make you feel better just in itself. But I'm sure it wouldn't be the same if you were sat in front of a computer screen doing a logarithm of your symptoms. But I think that obviously medicine is very, very complicated, and particularly our elderly population, that we're having to make complex decisions. There's, you know, ethical dilemmas and patient choice dilemmas, and people with multiple diseases. So it's not so simple. And I think it will be a very long time before AI will replace that, you know, that empathy and that you know, creativity to come up with an answer to a very complex problem. But we do need it. We do need AI, because we're not going to, with all the technology that's going on, all the things that we can actually cure, the illnesses that we can cure, we need it. We can't manage without. So we're going to have to find a happy medium, I think. I know that Dr. Anthony Chan, some of the world leaders in this field, they sort of agree that we need help, but they don't feel it's going to completely take over medical care. So yeah, I see it's a good thing.
Okay. Yeah, I think what we mustn't forget as well is AI there's some really good stuff in AI. It's not all negative. So in my field as well, there are positives in there. Of course, we're all maybe a bit sick now of Amazon and Netflix, whatever, coming up with all these suggestions for us, but that's all AI based. And based on what we've been watching and what we've been buying, it will take a human years to be able to do that and to collate all the information. And AI actually does that. And rightly or wrongly at the moment, we get our recommendations up front and very quickly. I don't necessarily need them, as I say, but there is some good stuff in there. I think coming back to what I was saying as well with the AI, with actors who are worried about it's maintaining their own image, basically their own image rights, and hopefully that is long running and it won't be able to do that. But with Hollywood generally, with television generally, there are so many good things in there as well. I think the irony is that for years we've made films about what AI is going to be, and it's always been the big enemy, Terminator and films like that, even AI, Spielberg film. But actually, if we control it but use it for its full potential, it could be a very good thing.
How would you engage it if you had a magic wand, you had an AI assistant in producing TV? How would you use it?
At the moment, not very much, because I don't want a computer to write a script, because they're never as good, certainly not at the moment. Editing, you need that human touch, that edit. There's a personal touch in there with an edit sequence that a machine could just go on the beat, and it would look very mundane and boring. So I'm struggling to answer that. I think in terms of budgets, that's a good thing. So any machine can run a budget better than we can, probably, because there's always human error, whereas you don't get that so much with machines. Same with scheduling as well, but as we all know, human elements and weather and all sorts of things come into that. So will a machine be able to calculate those sort of things, or at least build in contingency? So yeah, I am struggling, Pierre. It's an interesting question, and I don't think there is very much I would use at the moment. Maybe just to speed up the edit, but you'd still need a human editor there. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, so when I did my talk for our panel the first time, I did ask ChatGPT to give me some topics, and
Yes.
I do have some here actually, and to be honest, they're pretty good. So let's go back. So Caroline, if somebody was entering medicine now, how would you advise them regarding AI?
Well, I think I'd start off by saying the positive things. We have to remember that we've only just recovered from COVID, and I think it was used quite extensively in COVID in predicting where the hotspots of the COVID transmission were occurring and how best to control it. And maybe the governments didn't use that proper as well as they might, but that sort of thing in the future could be, statistics is going to be a big AI thing, I think. I think that new doctors coming into the profession now will need AI, because I don't think it's possible to do without, and I think they have to be quite enthusiastic about it. And in fact, some jobs I've seen, apparently there are some jobs where they say active interest or active interest in AI is important for the job, like for example in radiology. So I think that we all have to be open-minded about it. And having said that, I do think the younger profession are much more technical. They're much more used to computers, and they will be more au fait with this than we are. So I think they'll take it in their stride, I'm sure.
Rich, what would you advise somebody going into your field of studies regarding AI?
To use it wisely, quite frankly. I've always worked in television more than anything else, but when you look at social media and digital media and media generally, it can be used in good ways. And I think, as Caroline said, the young embrace it a bit more than we do, I think. Yeah, the algorithms that analyze the data that we give inadvertently on social media and through our watching and buying habits, if you don't read into it, it can be a little bit disturbing and a little bit worrying. But when it's used properly, when you know that it's come from a decent source or going to a decent source, I think it's okay. Digital media, I think, can use it very much for just data entry, things like that, mundane tasks. And we forget the easy things. It's the very complicated and sometimes suspicious things that we concentrate on. But there's lead scoring, sort of campaign optimization, those types of buzzwords that actually AI is helping at the moment. It helps humans create better strategies, if that makes sense. You get to a point a lot quicker. with AI. Actually, something you said earlier, Pierre, people won't be able to draw anymore. It's true. There's a skill there, but I will. The three of us will remember the skill of reading maps as well. When was the last time we all genuinely opened up a map, and maybe isolation on holiday or something? But we all had to read maps when we were young. Now we just put on the sat nav or put the phone on, and young people can't necessarily read maps anymore. So do people need to draw in the future? It's a sad thing to think about, but maybe we need to move with the times.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, yeah, I think younger people going into whatever their age, going into it, need to know that it's going to be a big part of it, and it's not necessarily a threat, but as long as we control it.
No, in my field anyway. Yeah, I think it's because okay, so people don't draw anymore. Fine. I mean, even now, people want to do 3D models quickly. And
Yes.
there are software that allow to do that. But if you don't understand drawing, if you don't understand proportion, lights and shadows, it's a very subtle thing to understand what makes a good design from a bad design. And it's very subjective. It's not just binary numbers. Like when people see a nice looking car, they know it's a good looking car, even though a machine might tell you that statistically it's bad. You know what I mean? So
it's that human experience, isn't it?
Exactly. So what you get by drawing is that sensitivity. I think it'll be the same in a film or in TV.
And
a good series or a nice cut or something. It's because you do have that human interaction. And Caroline, is that where the difference is made between a good doctor and a bad doctor, like the human element?
Yes, I mean, I think at the moment, thankfully, most AI in medical science is well audited and checked. It certainly has been on this dermatology scene. So I think at the moment we're using it cautiously, but we can't let it completely take over the human touch of the doctor and the empathy and the discussion with the patient, because that's the most important thing, to make sure we understand where the patient's coming from and what they hope to get out of the treatment and their wishes, and that's obviously a very complex thing, and we can't allow AI, I don't think, to do that. I can't rely on it to do that. Along with these ethical decisions, and there's a lot of elderly population. We often don't treat them so much these days, because they can't tolerate it, or it makes one of their other illnesses worse. So we have to think in a different way. But so yeah, I mean, I can see it happening, but I can't see it. And also the sort of, examining the patient and picking up clinical signs from a patient, lying on the bed. It's going to be very difficult for AI to do that. It's very different. It's analysing an X-ray or a CT scan or an MRI scan. That's very, very different. And I think it will have a place, but it won't. But I can't see it taking over, and I hope it doesn't, actually, because I think the doctor is the drug and has a very important reassuring effect on the patient, shall we say?
Yeah.
There is a black and white sometimes with science. Sorry, Pierre.
No, go for it.
Bit of black and white with science as well. That it can, if there's something there, it's there. Whereas in the media, you're dealing with creativity and all sorts of things like that. But when you look at journalism, news generally, a lot of what AI or ChatGPT might come up with is dependent on what people are feeding it. So if you give it false information in the first place, it doesn't know, and it will create false stories, the fake news that people will read and believe, and that's the worrying side for me. I think with doctors and everything, the human touch is very important. Nursing, doctoring, it's very much the human touch, somebody in front of you.
Yeah.
Whereas it doesn't matter who's written a script, to be honest, but when you're reading something that's not necessarily true, oh dear.
Yeah. So I was wondering which way I was going to go first, like bad AI first or good AI. So we'll go bad AI first. So, and according to my dear friend ChatGPT, It did said, for medicine, you do have obviously ethical consideration that AI might not be able to comprehend. You had privacy and data security in AI. That's
Mm.
something I didn't think about. What's your
Mm.
take on that, Caroline?
Well, the NHS, the healthcare seems to have the worst, the biggest firewalls and the most complicated systems ever. Yes, exactly. We cheer that, but it's been a bit of a nightmare getting round some of these systems because of it. And if the AI is used alongside and fitted into these complex systems, then it should be okay. I mean, we had that case where there was somebody hacked in. Do you remember somebody hacked into all the NHS systems a few years ago because we hadn't updated the Windows or something, and that was horrendous. But hopefully, we've learnt from that, and we'll make sure that we are as secure as we possibly can. So it depends how it's done. If it's done on the medical systems that we're already using, that are already validated, then it should be okay. And the idea was it should link in to all our other systems so all doctors can see it. And I think that is going to be a big AI challenge for us as well. Into system computer system communication. But yeah, it is possible to do, and I think that the bosses will just have to sort it out. It's not my problem, thankfully.
Yeah, Rich, you already touched about algorithms, and I think AI is just algorithms on steroids. I mean, it's just
Yes.
absolutely insane. Because I mean, you could create a show that's maybe not really good, created by AI, but it's so tailored that it will get eyeballs. So what's your take on that?
Well, it could be argued that a lot of humans make very bad shows as well. So
True.
then we're not immune ourselves. But yeah, it's coming back to the human experience, isn't it? If you write about somebody dying, you have so many more human emotions in that than I would imagine a computer could understand and could write about. Say with a poem or anything like that. It's that subtlety of humanity that really brings out the best in art.
I guess the question is, question is, do you see a substandard producer getting ahead just because they're better at gaming the system with AI? Do you see that point coming, or am I being too alarmist?
Maybe. I think the same with people doing their exams. I think in a short term they might pass their exam because they've cheated it in some way with ChatGPT, but I think you get caught out in the end anyway. You've got to have a genuine skill. You've got to keep working at it, and we all get better when we practice. So I don't think that would be a problem in the long run. I think more so it's what we're feeding AI and the damage it can do longer term and further, far wide. As I said, there's lots of good. Netflix uses AI all the time.
Yeah.
In terms of finding out what we want to watch and telling us what we want to watch. There's no, I don't know. I don't know if it will be a problem. I don't think it will put the genuinely talented people will always rise to the surface.
True, but don't you think they'll have more problems rising to the top because the system will be gamed in some way? And that goes also for doctors. I don't know if people can use. I mean, you have an AI on your phone these days almost. Can people game the system so much that they become so good at it that they get ahead, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, I did a bit of reading the other day about it, and I'm going to refer to my notes here. According to the World Economic Forum, it was called the Future of Jobs Report in 2020. And I quote, AI is expected to replace 85 million jobs worldwide by 2025. That's obviously across all the industries. Though that sounds quite scary, the report goes on to say that it will create 97 million new jobs as well in that same time frame. So yeah, we can look at it and say certain jobs you may lose out to technology, but it will create other jobs that we can all fit into eventually down the line as well. I don't see any problem at the moment for me I'm not going to get replaced by a computer writing a script. That's not going to happen necessarily in my lifetime. I don't know, in my working lifetime, let's say. But in the long term, who can tell on that one? I think it's, again, we've just got to be we've got to start working with AI sensibly and logically and come up with the best solutions. Not try to walk before we can run, for example. Run before we can walk in. There you go. The computer would have got that one right.
Yeah, I think we have got to be a bit careful about AI. It's it has to be programmed properly, and if there is bias, you can have bias in
Yes.
Your AI systems, and I say it has to be continually evaluated and tested, because it might not always produce the right results, or the results that that are the most practical for the patient. So I think there's a lot of, as you say, Rich, I think there's a lot of jobs that are going to occur because of the AI in making in fact, you're going to have doctors being involved very much in the programming of this AI. So actually, there's a potential that we still could need the same number of doctors, that they're going to have to get involved in it.
Yeah, I think the bias thing is the one of the biggest dangers, I think, because I just saw this when they had all these car crashes in Silicon Valley. It's because the AI was programmed by 30-something white men who didn't think about putting minorities into their algorithm, and just that cause accidents, because if you're not a male and in your 30s, then you have more you're more prone to an accident just because people didn't code it. So
wow. Yeah, again, human error.
Yeah,
but human error is a good thing. You look at the world of football at the moment, is all they're talking about is VAR. What's it called? I can't remember what it's called now. It's something assisted referee.
the assisted
video assisted referee. That's right. And they're just mistake after mistake after mistake, because it's humans working with technology. The technology just sees it as it is, but the human error comes into it at the same time. I think it's an interesting point about bias, and I think that there's always a danger of humans working with the AI with bad intent. So ChatGPT AI can create scams, that can create bad, fake news, phishing attacks, that type of thing, when it's being handled by the wrong sort of people. And how do you control that, of course?
Not sure. All right, so
you've got to have all your audits. You've got to have all your audits and spot checks and randomized checks on all these things. It's not easy, but
but that's what happens on the web, isn't it? There's a dark web, and there's all sorts of things. How do you possibly cover everything? So whilst we will, right-minded people will work with AI, hopefully for the best, there will be other people who are working with AI for different reasons.
For different reasons, yeah.
Yeah,
thankfully, I think the EU and the UK are ahead on regulation, so hopefully that will mitigate some of the risks. But the US is just still the far west, so hopefully, because Silicon Valley is regulation is the enemy of progress. So, but hopefully they'll get their act together. So now let's talk about the good things about AI. Actually, I jumped the gun a little bit because I was going to say the great things about AI, but there are a couple other things I want to talk about. I just read that asking a query on ChatGPT burns as much as one charge of iPhone. So one query to ChatGPT, you could charge an entire phone or decharge an entire phone. So I guess the next question is, what's the impact on us in general, on climate change, on society in general? Caroline, what are your thoughts?
Yes, I never thought about that, actually. All this computer, and we're all using computers so much, and in fact, I think we use it more in general practice than we do in hospital. I mean, I read not long ago, I heard that the hospital was still using paper records. Can you believe? And Whereas GPs, because we're very much paid for every task we do, and all our work is audited on the computer, and all our targets and everything, we've had to become fully computerized for a long time. So, we do sit there with all our computers burning all day long, and our heating bills, electricity bills are huge as a result. And it's frightening, actually, when the price of electricity went up, when we actually were told that our individual practice would have an electricity bill of 42,000 a year. That's just one building because of all our lights and computers. I mean, I have two screens up, and to deliver all this AI, but we are treating people for longer and longer, and people are living far longer than they ever did. I mean, life expectancy when I was started was, sort of 80 for a woman, 70 probably, I think it was probably even a bit less for men. But now it has gone up significantly. We're regularly seeing people in their 90s in our surgery. So we're treating more and more stuff. So if we're going to continue to treat people and keep people alive, it's not going to be energy efficient, not with the systems that we've got at the moment anyway. We're going to have to find new ways. But I think that's a way of the world anyway, isn't it? Find new energy sources to power this medical technology that we have.
Rich?
Yes, and to charge electric cars, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Suddenly we've got a huge need for electricity that we haven't had before. So yes, but that's the constant evolution of the world, and this is the latest evolution for a lot of us, is to work with AI and computers in general.
The chicken and egg, because then you have AI can predict better where you have as Caroline said, COVID, where is it going to hit? You can predict where the weather is going to hit. But at the same time, we're still burning resources. So maybe we should ask AI, okay, how do we lessen your impact, I guess?
But it's all relative, isn't it? I mean, electric cars and, powering people around in cars uses much more energy than a computer, I suspect. But as I say, it just depends how long you've got that computer left on. I mean, we actually have to leave on. We have to leave on a computer at our practices all night, or it won't send out the text reminders and all the SMS messages about the appointments the next day and things like this. So, that's whirring round all night.
Yeah.
Using its energy.
Well, in the old days, we used to cut everything on film. And it was very expensive to make film, and again, it probably wasn't very good for the environment with all the chemicals that we used and all that sort of stuff. But now, of course, everything's done on computer. So I edit on a laptop. I shoot on video, but that's just using batteries, which again is not very good. But so AI won't make a massive difference in my industry, as it were. I think where it will come into it. I mean, the actual televisions, AI we're now voice controlled, things like that, which would never happen before. Where we had to get up off our seat, go over and turn the channel, and then turn the knob to get the volume up and down. Now you can do it with just your voice. So there's lots of different ways that that is helping.
I mean, it can also, AI can, as you say, Rich, AI can really help as well. I mean, all our prescriptions now, I can't actually print out a prescription and give it to a patient. It has to be sent directly to the chemist for the patient to pick up from the chemist. So they don't have to come into the surgery and pick that prescription up anymore. They just go straight to the chemist.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
And, we used to, in the olden days, we used to visit loads of patients driving around in our cars. Some GPs had nice big cars as well, probably very carbon inefficient ones that they trotted around to visit their patients in. And now we rarely do that. And in fact, what's happened now is that and I know this probably isn't the really ill ones. We send the nurses out. And there's an argument that isn't that efficient. But from the doctor's point of view, because there are less of us, letting the nurses do taking all the obs and the observations and everything, and we making the final decision and prescribing is become more efficient, certainly for our carbon footprint. I'm not sure, overall it is, but that's how it's done very much now.
Yeah, I mean, just me from my industry, especially with COVID, you're able to work from home. I think you obviously don't have to commute, burn resources, and if you can, obviously you can drive an AI robot from home as well. So hopefully that will help our energy bill. But
Yes.
to go back to Caroline and her 90-year-old patients, well, hopefully AI, as we come full circle, not Terminator, but the other side, hopefully, and I didn't think about that, ChatGPT is very smart. It said you could synthesize a drug for a special patient. And I thought, wow, that's actually really interesting. So you don't have to make the generic drug that everybody has, but you could technically synthesize an individual drug for someone. I was like, wow, that'll be pretty cool, to be fair. Thoughts, Caroline?
Yes, that's very, very high tech. Goodness me. I think the cost of that will be prohibitive, unfortunately. Obviously, medical in the medical field, these medicines that we use are expensive because they've had so much what should we say, trialing, testing, development, and the huge amounts of money that's been put into them. So they are quite expensive resources. So to design a drug for a patient, and the cost that would take would probably be prohibitive in the health service. We're at a point now that the NHS is so expensive that we have to economize. For example, we have a formulary that we have to adhere to, and we have to try and use the most cost-effective medicines wherever possible. And so the patient doesn't always get the best drug or the drug they want, the best formulation of the drug, because it's too expensive. And we're having this constant sort of conversation with patients that, you could have that one, but you'll have to buy that one. But the NHS will provide this one, but it's similar, but it's not. It's the same drug, but it might not be quite the formulation you want.
But the thing is, like clinical trials obviously are always the most expensive parts, right? But what if AI could speed up that process, I don't know, 10-fold, 100-fold? And it might be a lot cheaper, so you never know. Hopefully you can get breakthroughs with AI that can be done currently. That's another way.
Yeah, I think that we just have to be careful about not treating our elderly. Well, and I know it's a difficult dilemma, really. It's a quality of life as well, isn't it? Then rather than just treating every ailment, and you've got to think about quality of life, and where you spend the money. You've only got so much money. Do you spend it on curing the young person with cancer, or do you think about a specialist thing for an older patient? There's going to be a balance. And I think that we have to work that out. And the NHS is hugely expensive at the moment.
Yeah.
And I can't see that happening in the near future anyway.
Yeah.
We combine lots of drugs and it seems to work.
Woohoo, drugs. No, personally, I want AI to be there so that people don't have a conversation about taking my keys away. I'm like, the AI can drive me anywhere. It's good. All good.
Yeah.
Rich, do you see good things about AI in your field? Just cutting time down?
Excuse me. Yes. It has been getting better and better all the time, I think, in many ways. So you don't have to spend a fortune flying to a location somewhere in the world and spreading, with a big footprint, flying a crew, flying actors and everything else over to, I don't know, the pyramids. You can actually just do it in a studio and blue screen it or green screen it behind you. So but we've been doing that for a long time, and that's a good thing in the long run. And I think just as long as we keep a very close eye on consumer privacy, and on biased programming, as I said before, if there's any human manipulation into AI, and of course any danger to humans as well and to animals, but and keeping a clear legal regulation over it, I think I think that the future is very exciting. In my field, certainly, we can go into space at the push of a button, and it can take the audience with you. If anyone's seen the Doctor Who Rebirth again, we're on a different planet every week, but we're not really. I know, it's all created, all computer generated. I've just put a big spoiler alert there. So there are lots of good things, and it can inflame people's imaginations even more so. We always had books that we would do that with, but now we can actually see what planets might look like, what the deepest parts of the ocean might look like, what it's like to be in a volcano, anything like that we wouldn't be able to do normally ourselves. So there are lots of positives, lots of things to look forward to in the future, as long as it's regulated carefully.
Okay, so, and then we're closing in on the hour quickly. So how about some parting thoughts? So Caroline, and Rich, I'll give you the same exercise. So I'm gonna give you an AI assistant that's fully vetted, is ethical, it's nice, it's nice, I don't know. It's nice, it's legal, it's carbon neutral. Caroline, what would you have it do?
Well, I would have it do my paperwork, Pierre.
To be fair, I think that's you and a lot of people. Paperwork, I think the tedious stuff really.
I would specifically have it do all my medication reviews that I do. I would have it check all my medication, make sure all the patients have had their blood tests or their blood pressures or whatever parameter needs to be checked for that medication. And I would have it reauthorize those medications if everything had been done, or message the patient and say you need your blood pressure or your blood test done, all automatically without me having to physically do it every single day that I go into the office. And also issue all those prescriptions every month on time without us having to manually do it. And also monitor all the control drugs, because we have all these control drugs that have to be delivered. We have to press the button every month to make sure people are not abusing them. Well, why can't the AI do it just when it's allowed to be issued, and every month, so people can't get more than they should have, that sort of thing. But yeah, I would certainly, the prescriptions would be the very first thing that I'd ask it to sort out for me. And followed by my letters. I'd see if I can get it to read my letters and do the necessary. I think the hospital consultants keep asking us to do. But yeah, I think that would be, it would help us enormously, that would, if it was doing that for the whole practice.
Wow, so like a practice assistant. Okay.
Well, I mean, at the moment we have, we're employing pharmacists and advanced care practitioners to do these sort of roles, because it's it's very, very mundane, I feel, for us, and it's a sort of thing that could be put very easily into a program and done that way. In fact, maybe that could be somebody's career. Somebody invent that, it'd be a good idea. But yeah, be really useful.
Yeah, I think that's one of the issues I see with AI. It's so wide, and some of the things we needed to do are so narrow that, like, for example, in my field, all the students are freaking out, but I'm like, it's like a big cannon, and nobody's really aiming it to a specific problem. You really need, I think in your case, Caroline, you have a specific problem, and I think enough people have that problem to, but admin work, kind of a grunt work, that it would be a good optimization of AI in that respect.
Definitely.
Okay, Rich, same question for you. And you have an AI assistant. What would you do?
Gosh, I'm struggling really, because one of the joys of work is to be with humans, and I wouldn't want those people to be replaced by something. I'd rather have that interaction day in, day out, on the set, in an edit suite, whatever it might be. So I'd be struggling, but there are times when you think, oh, this is a painfully long process. And the one that springs to mind is going through rushes. And rushes are what we film on a daily basis, whether it be a documentary, a feature film, whatever it is. You still shoot and you shoot and you shoot. And some are bad takes, some are false starts, some are that are just not workable because of a technical issue, or you can't hear, whatever it might be. And somebody has to go through all that, and it takes hours, it can take days, it can take weeks to go through all of the rushes. So that'd be one that would be very good to have, where you can just disappear onto a beach somewhere for a long weekend while a computer does it for you. That would, and then you have a long list of, that can use that take, and that take, and here we go. But I think what's important to remember is that we've got to embrace AI. It's part of the future. It's going to be here, whether we like the idea or not. And as Pierre said, there's a shitter cannon, and we don't know quite what will be invented in the next few years. There will be new jobs that we haven't even thought of yet, that because of AI, for the positive. And I think AI won't replace humans, but I think humans with AI will replace humans without AI. I hope that makes sense. That we have to embrace it. You've got to work with it in whatever capacity. Excuse me. And I think, as I've said all along, it can work very well.
Yeah. When I did my speech for panel, I mentioned the Deep Blue. So Gary Kasparov lost to a chess match, and now there are categories of chess playing where you can actually bring a computer with you. Like you can bring a supercomputer, so you're in charge of the strategy, and the computer calculates the possibilities.
Gosh,
but I think
that's cheating.
Well, no, because everybody has the same, equipment. Everybody brings their computer, so computers can say, all right, I don't know, you have 4,000 possibilities. Your opponent knows there's 4,000 possibilities, but now you have to pick the strategy. And when I tell students, when I go do talks, think about it that way. Like the chess, somebody will bring AI into your workplace or into your field, and you want to be the player with the computer. You want to be the player with computing power and make sure you use it. But I don't think it'll replace you. You still have to make the strategy, basically. That's the way.
I think so. And as long as I said, the person behind the AI is doing the right things, coming from the right place, then it'll work very well. Yes. But we're still very much in the infancy. We don't know how far this could go. We're not anywhere near Terminator and Judgment Day just yet.
No, you still want to be wary of deepfakes and AI generated voices. And something I've learned is that sometimes people can clone your voice by AI and then call you and run through a script. So that's also kind of worrisome, but
But again,
and also, you've got to just keep validating this AI, I think, as well. It's always got to, I don't think you can just let it run. It's always got to be, somebody's always got to be thinking, is it still right? Is it still on track? Does it need to be improved?
Yeah.
And is there any bias? And I think it's got to be audited, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Certainly in the medical profession anyway.
No, and I think that's where we'll take our cues for AI as a group. Yes, trust, but definitely verify.
Very good.
So Caroline, Rich, I want to say thank you for joining my panel.
Pleasure.
I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, been lovely.
It has been. Well done, Pierre. Well hosted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Around. Bye.
Been very interesting. Bye.